This happened in 2011 when I was in the process of replacing the flooring in my storage room. I had been using this storage room for many years. Over time, the flooring had suffered a lot of wear and tear. I also noticed that some of the gaps between the floors were getting bigger and bigger. This caused a lot of trouble with cleanup because dust and debris would often get caught in these gaps. No matter how hard I tried to clean, I could not completely remove these stubborn stains. To make matters worse, some of the boards even came loose due to the aging of the floor. When I walked across the floor, it would make a harsh rubbing sound. Considering all these problems, I decided that replacing the flooring would be the best solution. One day, I moved all the stuff out of the storage room. I put the new flooring on the floor. However, just as I was concentrating on my work, I accidentally stepped on a protruding nail. A sharp pain spread through the bottom of my foot, and I sat down on the floor immediately in pain. I decided to go to the hospital right away, knowing that there was a possible risk of tetanus infection. At the hospital, I told the doctor what had happened and showed my wound. He told me that the wound looked quite deep and posed a risk of infection. To prevent a tetanus infection, he decided to give me a tetanus shot. By the next day, I began to feel a little ill. I felt tired and dizzy, and I also noticed redness and swelling around the wound. I became concerned that these reactions did not seem normal. I immediately contacted my doctor and described my symptoms to him. The doctor told me that this could be a side effect of the tetanus vaccine. The doctor suggested that I go to the hospital again for tests. I nervously rushed to the hospital, hoping to find a solution. At the hospital, the doctor told me that my body was having an allergic reaction and also that the wound was infected. He was going to give me 2 injections of penicillin. The doctor picked up a syringe with a penicillin solution. I could feel a slight sting as the medicine entered my body. Despite the sting, I tried my best to stay calm. After the first injection was given, the doctors watched my reaction carefully. They asked me if I had any discomfort or allergic reactions. Fortunately, I did not have any serious side effects and only felt a slight pain. However, after the second injection of penicillin, things suddenly changed. I felt dizzy and my vision began to blur. I tried to sit up, but my body became very heavy. Eventually, I fainted and fell to the floor. My consciousness gradually blurred, the sound and light around me gradually disappeared, and I fell into a coma. Suddenly, I appeared in the middle of a darkness. There was no sound and no light around me. All my pain disappeared. I felt as if I was floating in the void. This feeling made me feel very wonderful. When I saw the light again, I found myself floating on the ceiling of the ward, looking down on the whole room. I could clearly see all the details of the ward. My body was twitching and white foam was spilling out of the corners of my mouth. The sight both surprised and frightened me. The doctors and nurses kept performing CPR, artificial respiration, and chest compressions. There was a tense atmosphere in the ward. I saw the nurse who had administered penicillin to me earlier standing in the corner. Her expression was helpless and self-conscious, as if she was under great stress. I slowly approached her, and I tried to comfort her. When I placed my hand on her shoulder, I was surprised to find that my hand went straight through her body without any touch. I realized that I was not in the physical world now. Although I could perceive everything around me, I could not interact directly with the real world. I heard a doctor say to a nurse that we were about to lose him. This statement filled my heart with helplessness and despair. I didn't know what was going to happen next. Suddenly, a doctor rushed into the operating room, holding a particularly long syringe in his hand. The doctor quickly approached my body, and he inserted the long needle syringe into my chest. The tip of the needle penetrated the skin and went directly into the gap between my ribs. The doctor's expression was very determined. He kept adjusting the syringe to make sure the drug was injected smoothly into my body. His movements were agile and precise. In this instant, I found myself in an unfamiliar room. The walls were made of bricks and stone. They bore the marks of age. There were also some old frescoes on the walls. The furniture in the room was made of old wood. On the table there is a yellowing book and an old quill. In the corner of the room there is an old-fashioned chair. The back of the chair was carved with an intricate pattern. A faint glow permeated the entire room. Suddenly, a person walked into the room. I saw a familiar figure. It was my aunt, who had died 9 years ago. She was wearing a long pale blue dress with delicate embroidery on it. Her long hair cascaded over her shoulders, as soft and shining as a waterfall. Her face beamed with a gentle smile and her eyes shone brightly. Her face seems to be untouched by the years and still retains its youthfulness. There is not a single wrinkle on her face. When I was 3 years old, my mother passed away in an accident. At that time, our family was not financially well off, and my father still needed to go out to work and could not take care of me at all times. In this situation, my aunt stepped forward and offered to take care of me. She is a kind and loving person. My aunt took me into her care and gave me the warmth of a family. Under my aunt's care, I spent many happy times. She was like a loving mother who gave me a sense of security. She taught me a lot of life lessons. Under my aunt's companionship, I grew up gradually. I gradually learned to be independent and strong under her care, and learned to face the difficulties and challenges in life. However, when I started elementary school, I returned to my father's side. She was one of the most important people in my growing up process. And she made me stronger and braver. My aunt walked towards me and hugged me gently. I said to her, "Auntie, I miss you so much. I have been missing you for the past 9 years. How are you doing now?" My aunt smiled gently, "Dear child, I have been watching over you. I am proud of you. I have lived a happy life here." My aunt patted my shoulder and said gently, "I remember when you first came to my house, you were a little uncomfortable. The new environment made you very shy." I smiled and nodded my head as I recalled the scene. We also recalled a funny incident. At that time, I had just arrived at my aunt's house and was not quite comfortable with the new environment. My aunt had specially prepared a new bed for me. During the first night, I kept rolling around in bed, trying to find a comfortable sleeping position. Suddenly, I accidentally slipped off the bed and fell to the floor. When my aunt heard the sound and rushed into the room, she couldn't help but laugh when she saw my funny face. She also learned to imitate my expression after falling off the bed, and laughter filled the whole room. Here, I talked a lot with my aunt. Finally, my aunt said to me, "It's time to go back. Your father is waiting for you." Finally, my aunt said to me, "It's time to go back. Your father is waiting for you." We walked out of the room. My aunt held my hand tenderly, her eyes full of care. She said, "Baby, you have grown up and are already a brave and strong child. Your father is waiting for you, he always loves you and wants you to be happy by his side." I looked up, tried to control my emotions, smiled and said to my aunt, "Auntie, I will never forget your love and teachings to me. I will be a good person." My aunt went on to say, "Remember, no matter where you are, my aunt will always support you." I nodded, tears slipping from the corners of my eyes, and finally, we hugged each other tightly, giving each other warmth and blessings. Finally, I turned around and left the room. After walking out of the room, I felt a strong attraction, as if an invisible force was beckoning to me. I relaxed myself and gradually moved closer to it as this force guided me. In the process of returning to my body, I felt a strong spinning and twisting, as if I was caught in a huge vortex. Everything around me became blurred, as if I had experienced a dreamlike journey. Gradually, I felt myself returning to the real world. My breathing became regular, I could feel my heart beating and blood flowing through my body. I slowly opened my eyes and found myself lying on a bed in a hospital room, surrounded by doctors and nurses. My father was also standing by the bed, looking very haggard. I smiled and waved at my father. My father held my hand tightly and said in a slightly trembling voice, "Son, you're finally awake, I was so worried about you." My father stretched out his other hand and gently stroked my cheek, with a deep fatherly love in his eyes. I smiled and said to my father, "Dad, I saw my aunt, she told me to say hello to you." My father acted very surprised and then said, "Son, maybe you're just hallucinating." I said firmly, "Dad, I'm not hallucinating, and it's not a dream. I really saw my aunt. She said a lot of things to me." My father listened and thought for a moment. Then he said, "Son, perhaps your experience has given you delusions of grandeur, and this could just be a psychological reaction. We all miss her very much, but she has been away from us for many years." He went on to say, "Son, whether real or illusionary, your experience is important. My aunt was a very important person to us all, and she gave us a lot of help. We have to be forever grateful to her." The next day, a doctor came into my hospital room. I immediately recognized him as the doctor with the long syringe that day. I looked at him gratefully and expressed my gratitude to him. The doctor looked at me suspiciously and he said, "This must be our first meeting, you must be mistaken." I replied firmly, "Doctor, I know it sounds unbelievable, but during my near-death experience, I did see you. I saw you rushing into the operating room with a long syringe in your hand." The doctor's expression became serious as he listened intently to what I had to say. I described the experience as best I could, including the darkness of the room, floating above my body. After a few moments of contemplation, the doctor took a deep breath and then said, "This does sound incredible, but we have many unanswered questions about near-death experiences. Your experience may be a unique spiritual experience. Thank you for sharing this story with me. Near-death experiences are a mysterious and complex area, and there is still much we don't understand. Each person's experience is unique. Whether the experience is real or an illusion, it becomes a part of your growth." I looked at the doctor gratefully and felt his honesty and understanding. This special experience will forever remain in my heart and inspire me to live a more meaningful life. With a grateful heart, I will continue to move forward.
On the day of Valentine's Day 2001, I attended my classmate's wedding. During our college days, we were always good friends who had nothing to say to each other. We experienced many challenges and difficulties during our college years, but we always supported and encouraged each other. We still kept close contact after graduation. When she invited me to her wedding, I was very happy. My husband also accompanied me. The whole wedding was beautifully decorated and full of romantic atmosphere. The venue was decorated with beautiful flowers and gorgeous ribbons. At the moment they exchanged rings, I felt a little sick. I felt a sharp pain. I am not a person who likes to make a fuss in public, but this time I couldn't control myself. I groaned in pain. My husband looked at me in surprise, and he immediately noticed my abnormality. He asked anxiously, "My God, what's wrong with you?" I tried to tell him, but the pain prevented me from speaking properly. I felt my body gradually becoming weaker and my vision began to blur. I kept praying in my heart that I would not interfere with my female classmate's wedding. My husband gently assisted me. We slowly made our way through the crowd toward the entrance of the church. However, the moment I reached the entrance of the church, I couldn't hold on any longer. I suddenly felt the whole world start to spin. I collapsed helplessly to the ground. My husband knelt beside me in panic, and he tried to wake me up, but I did not respond. I felt my consciousness gradually move away from my body. As my consciousness left, I felt that I was entering a whole new realm. I felt no physical pain or distress, only lightness and freedom to exist. My vision became vast. I felt a peace I had never felt before. I was floating in midair, and I saw the people attending the wedding gathered around, all of them looking at me. One of them began to perform CPR on me. At one point, a powerful force brought me back to the real world. My soul reconnected with my body. I once again felt pain and distress. After a while, I left my body once again. This time, I felt myself immersed in a much better place. A warm glow permeated my surroundings. There was no bondage of time here, nor was there any pain. An unbelievably pure energy surrounded me, and I felt completely accepted here. In this wonderful place, I feel a stronger connection with the entire universe. There is no material bondage in this place. I felt my soul intertwined with countless other souls, immersed together in a sea of love. I cannot describe exactly how long it lasts because time has no concept here. Suddenly a mysterious signal was sent to my brain. This message was not through the form of words, but a telepathic communication that transcended words. It was asking me if I wanted to move on or return to the real world. I could not determine the source or the gender of the message, but I could feel the friendliness it conveyed. I decided to move on and continue my search for a deeper truth. Just at the moment I made my decision, an arched gate appeared in front of me, which emitted a dazzling white light. On either side of this gate, there were two more, even more massive doors. These doors exuded a sense of sacredness, and they represented different options and possibilities. Each door was a new world. In this moment, I felt like I was standing at a crossroads and needed to make an important choice. I stared at the doors and took a deep breath. I decided to choose the door in the middle. As I stepped through the arched door, a warm energy surrounded me, as if an invisible hand was gently leading me forward. I felt myself entering a whole new realm. A wide corridor appeared in front of me. The walls of the corridor glowed with a soft light. I continued along the corridor with anticipation. In this corridor, I felt a strong love. This love transcends the emotions between individuals. As I neared the end of the hallway, a bright light caught my eye. It emitted a pure light that illuminated a space ahead. In that light, I saw a person waiting for me. Although I could not tell exactly who he was, I sensed that this person was an important person or mentor in my life. His presence gave me a sense of closeness, as if we had known each other for a long time. He exuded an aura of sacredness that made me feel incredibly safe and trusting. The moment I approached him, I felt my soul and his soul merge with each other, and a special connection was established between us. He led me through the bright light and we arrived at a peaceful and beautiful lake. The lake was surrounded by trees and flowers. This place seemed to be an isolated and mysterious paradise. I gazed at my reflection on the lake and felt a sense of inner peace. He told me that I must return to the real world. I replied, "No, I want to stay here." I was afraid to leave such a perfect place. Here I feel complete freedom, and I don't want to lose it all. He patiently explained that returning to the real world did not mean that I would lose my memories and experiences here. Again, I refused his offer. When he heard my refusal, his eyes turned to my belly and he pointed to my belly and said, "You have to go back for the sake of the baby in your belly." I acted very surprised and joyful at the same time. My husband and I had been married for 4 years and had always longed for a child of our own, but had never been able to do so. We had considered adopting a child. My periods had been delayed for a long time. I had felt a glimmer of anticipation, but was not sure if I was pregnant. But this news made me feel very happy. My eyes were moist. He told me that this child was a special gift, a miracle of life. I had to return to the real world for the sake of this child and for the sake of my dream with my husband. The wizard held out his arm and gestured for me to follow him. The landscape around me began to change. We passed through the tunnel of time and came to a wide, bright space. I was standing in a spacious room with family photos hanging on the walls. I saw myself and my husband, smiling broadly and embracing, with a child behind me. For some reason, I couldn't see this child's face or distinguish the child's gender. A warm atmosphere permeated the room, and I heard the laughter of the child and the family. I crossed to the child's room, which was filled with colorful toys and books. The child was happily playing, and my husband and I were accompanied by the child. Then, I came to a sunny garden. Holding hands, my husband and I strolled through a sea of flowers. We tended the flowers and plants together and felt the beauty of nature. Children were playing in the grass. The scene changed again to a school. I stood at my child's graduation ceremony and watched proudly as my child received his certificate of honor. My husband and I were overwhelmed with pride in our child's accomplishments. I said to my guide, "I know what to choose. I want to go back immediately and tell my husband the good news." The guide smiled and nodded. I reappeared in that hallway. The walls of the corridor glowed softly, as if to bid me farewell. I walked slowly along the corridor. At the end of the corridor, I once again saw the arched gate. Standing in front of the gate, I remembered this amazing experience with gratitude and awe. The wizard stood quietly beside me, smiling as he looked at me. I took a deep breath and gazed at the archway. I knew that I was about to leave this place and return to my reality. The wizard gave me a gentle hug and then turned to leave. Slowly, I returned to the world of reality. The body and my consciousness reconnected. The scenery around me gradually became clear. I found myself lying in a hospital room. A nurse gazed at me with a concerned expression. The nurse gently asked, "How are you feeling?" The nurse immediately brought me a sugary drink. I took the drink carefully and drank it slowly. As time passed, I felt the energy in my body gradually recover and my mind became clear. I lay quietly on my bed and recalled the amazing experience. Despite having returned to the real world, a sense of wonder still pervaded my mind. At this time, my husband came into the hospital room. I held his hand tightly, smiled and said, "Honey, I have something important to tell you." My husband gazed at me nervously. I continued, "We are expecting a little baby, and we are finally going to become parents." My husband gently took my hand and said gently, "Just get some rest." After leaving the hospital, we went to the pharmacy and purchased a pregnancy test. On the way home, my heart was filled with nervousness and anticipation. I entered the bathroom and held the pregnancy test tightly. A few minutes later, the test came back. My hand shook with surprise and tears welled up in my eyes. I was pregnant. My husband heard my excited voice and walked quickly into the bathroom. Looking at the result on the pregnancy test, his face was filled with a happy smile. Later, we went to the hospital. The doctor confirmed that I was pregnant with twins. 9 months later, on a sunny morning, I gave birth to my 2 boys. Their birth brought laughter to the whole family. It has been 20 years since this event, but I remember all the details very well. My 2 sons have grown up to be responsible young men. Recently, I attended my son's graduation ceremony. It was a moment of pride and joy as we witnessed their academic efforts. My heart was filled with emotion and pride as they stood on the stage to receive their honorary certificates. 20 years ago, that experience gave me a new appreciation of the preciousness and infinite possibilities of life. Thanks to that guide, who guided me out of the brink of death and gave me the opportunity to return to my family. His presence and guidance made me appreciate each day more. I also want to thank my husband, who is always by my side, giving me unlimited support and love. He has been a strong support in my life and has faced the challenges and joys of life with me. Most importantly, I would like to thank my 2 sons. They are the most precious gifts in my life, bringing me endless love and joy. They inspire me to be a better person. That experience was like a wonderful revelation to me.